What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, RAF ESPARZA, coming to you with a brand new installment of The Bullpen, a joint venture between Inside BJJ and The Grappling Hour. How you doing today? It feels like we haven't seen you in a minute, but in actuality, we saw you a lot last week. So, it was what, 10 days without us? I know. It's difficult, but we got through it. And now we're back together. And you not only see me, but my long-time friend, Tim Freeman. Tim, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Raph. Fresh, back, ready to bang. Had a nice weekend off. Spent it amusing myself at the theme parks.
Nope.
Got caught up in.
Don't call it that. Whatever you do, that's the wrong way to say it there, Pee Wee Herman.
I got caught up in the traffic Armageddon at the Nashville airport when we got back home. Pulled a passed out man off the street who I thought was praying, only to be asked for Xanax, and finally made it in. Got through a pretty solid week, man. So here we are, doing great.
Well, welcome back, Tim. I'm glad to see you made it back in one piece. Even if you aren't on that board, you're on this board. Let's just say this. There's been some stuff that's been going on, and obviously when there is news in the jiu-jitsu realm, it is up to us to give you our takes because, we've been gone only a few days, and there's been a lot of accusations about throwing matches. Tim, in the history of jiu-jitsu, there have been plenty of people who have accused one another of throwing matches. But two instances this week, we had people accusing Craig Jones of throwing a match at CJI or a proposed match with them. Can you tell us more about the individuals who were accusing Craig of throwing, and maybe speculate as to why he would even consider such a thing if he were to do it?
It's not a major surprise. I kind of chuckle at people that act like this is like a super surprise if you know Craig Jones. But it is interesting that Gable Stevenson waited until after kind of the dust settled with CJI2 to put out into the internet world that Craig Jones basically offered to throw the match. And then there was a little back and forth. And then, if I remember this correctly, Mr. Moneyberg himself came on and posted some social media content that said that Craig had offered to throw a match with him, and he turned him down because he was busy overseas making millions of dollars, and Craig is a bum, more or less. Which I find absolutely hilarious. Craig finally did find a guy to throw the match with, who probably, all things considered, if you're going to throw a match, better to throw it with Chael than the other two cats. Craig's already thrown a match in the first CJI, so this is not rocket science, but it is funny. It's like, was Craig trying to bite on Moneyberg's juice to get him into the CJI just to make it a spectacle, or is Moneyberg trying to bite on Craig's juice right now, saying, he tried to throw a match with me, everybody. Let's get this fire going again.
Well, I'd like to start by saying I don't want to refer to anything with Craig Jones's juice.
Biting on juice, dog.
Nope. Don't want to do that. Okay, let's take this apart bit by bit. First of all, what kind of groundbreaking news do you think it is to accuse Craig Jones of throwing a match? Let's look at the evidence here. He did a match against Gabby Garcia. That was for spectacle to get people to tune in. And when people think that they're bringing receipts, like Gable Stevenson says, oh man, yeah, he was trying to throw that match. Yeah, dude, because we've seen you in pro wrestling. Not very interesting when you're trying to be interesting. He was trying to make something entertaining for an audience base. And I get that maybe in wrestling circles, it's unheard of to ever throw a match. But having said that, Craig is trying to create a spectacle here, so it's not surprising to see that in the least. And more importantly, what sense does it make for somebody who can submit you with leg locks that you clearly don't know how to get out of? This is assumption, by the way. I know you're working with Gordon, and you're very, very fit and very powerful and a great athlete. That doesn't mean you're not going to get leg locked by a dude who knows how to do dumb shit. That's part one. Part two, Moneyberg. This was something I didn't necessarily see coming, but I think that Craig was trying to maneuver the interest that was going with Moneyberg and offering a way to endear him to the community. Look at the way that everybody is rallied around the once beating up grandma, Gabby Garcia. Now everybody loves her. So Craig might have been offering some kind of little rope for him to say like, hey, bud, maybe if you do this, people might like you. And just because the throw, meaning the end result, is predetermined, pro wrestling, it doesn't mean that Craig wouldn't be fucking him up for half of the match. Like, that's still part of the thing that people don't quite figure out here. So whether it's thrown or not thrown, they saw the match with Chael and still had the nerve, these ignoramus people. Was that a work? Was that a... Did they throw that match? And nobody cared. Because guess what? It was silly. And it got us by. And people were like, man, I don't know. I think Chael was really out. No, Chael was really out of his mind to take this match. But he wasn't out of cash by the end of it. So I guess what I'm saying to you is this. Who cares? It's not going to break anything for a dude who begs of you to give him less credibility at every opportunity.
Yeah. You know, I didn't think about that, Raph. The fact that even if you throw the match with Craig, he still can whoop your ass for 80% of the match and really make you look bad and suffer.
For sure. And I mean, this is a person who we've only seen sweep people in the most ridiculous of ways. Like, it feels that there are people who are Muppet handlers who help Moneyberg do somersaults. So, like, you don't see the person with their hand up Kermit's ass being like, hey, oh, he's going to topple over. Let's help him out here. That's what you're supposed to do. So, yeah, and when I say a pro wrestling element to it, they have the match predetermined, but it's what happens within the middle of the match that's all the magic. So there are plenty of times when you see the villain or the heel beat up the good guy only for the good guy to make a comeback here. So if anything, Craig was offering some kind of opportunity to Moneyberg to just say like, hey man, nobody expects you to be the best black belt in the world, but maybe they'll stop attacking you in the comments. And I guess the bigger question is, does he want people to stop talking about him because he seems to enjoy the attention he's getting from it? A lot of this seems like rage bait. Don't you get that feeling sometimes, Tim?
Oh, yeah. I think 100%. I think he's real rage baity. I mean, one of the first things he did when he got called out on the black belt was he said, oh, we're going to have a live with Gilbert Burns. You remember that? And we're going to do some roll. Was it Burns? It was one of these. I thought it was Burns. We're going to do some rolling. And then I'm going to give you the 10 commandments of financial freedom. It's like, dude, he's generating hatred and then going, catch me live. We'll talk about it because I'm going to roll. You could watch me roll. And while we roll, I'm going to solicit your dumb ass and see if I can get you to buy my course. So, yeah, same stuff, dude.
Well, that brings us to our second topic as we transition out of that. But I guess the larger thing before we get off of that one topic is, Gable, you're just not going to win this war of words with Craig. Because Craig rightfully pointing out, so let me get this straight. I offered to throw a match for you that you still couldn't partake in. And then you had to get out of doing it. Make it make sense. And it says, hi,
That's
Boston
always
Crab
us.
submission team. Oh, well, cool. Thanks to Tar Arts. Appreciate that. Why don't we now move on over to our next topic? So, speaking of Moneyberg, he made an interesting choice this week, Tim, in attacking perhaps the most beloved human being in all of the 10th planet system.
So
He
insane.
decided to go after Keith Krikorian, of all people. He slid into Keith's DMs to chastise him after losing to Landon Elmore, which, by the way, is a list that's growing by the day. And he decided to, at the same time he was chastising him, let him know he didn't appreciate the way that he was talking about him online, threatened legal action, and said, Keith, take down whatever you've said about me. Tim, what was your initial response when you saw Moneyberg send that note to Keith?
You know, when you're showing your ass, you're the last one to know you're showing your ass. You know what I mean? So Moneyberg, he chastises Keith for losing to an 18-year-old, which kind of proves to you that Moneyberg doesn't really follow jiu-jitsu very much, doesn't know very much about who these guys are. For one, the 18-year-old is on one of his main coach's team, so you would think maybe he would kind of have that through his brain. The second thing is I'd like that he sent him, this is how you know we're living in 2025, a cease and desist letter, but it's a DM. So I find that quite funny. It's Mr. Professional. I'm so smart, you're so dumb. I'm so rich, you're so broke. You're an idiot with no ideas. I'm not going to go to the attorney and have him send a real letter. I don't want to look up Keith's address. I'll slide into his DMs. And then he's like, I want to read this directly though, because he said, I'd like to ask you one time, respectfully, please take down the content you have posted defaming me and intentionally damaging my name and reputation. Please remove those things and move on to a different topic. I can't have you or anyone else damaging my name and my business. Brother, your Benjamin Franklin hairdo is damaging your business, not Keith Krikorian. Keith is one of the most beloved dudes in all of jiu-jitsu. Like, of everyone you could be like, I don't like that guy. He's got something wrong with him. He's a red flag. He's this, he's that. Moneyberg don't go after none of those guys. He goes after the real nice dude in jiu-jitsu, not the one that's faking it. He goes after the real one, Keith Krikorian, which is just insane, man. He must have a new product he's selling.
Probably, but this one hits home because he's going after somebody who's near and dear to the show. I've known Keith for years. He's a good kid. What he's saying pales in comparison to what the rest of the internet is saying about you, Mr. Moneyberg. So I thought I would take a moment to just address you directly. Hi, Mr. Moneyberg. Listen, what are we doing here? You slid into a DM of the guy, like the nicest kid you could possibly choose. Did you think the DM was the right way to slide in? Did you feel like, man, you know, I could send him airmail or something else, but I want to reach to this kid and his conscience to see if I can get him to maybe take this down out of the goodness of his heart, because he's a good, upstanding individual who, I must remind, did lose in the finals of EBI, which the timing sus, but I would say, having said all of that, take that, young man. And also, while you're at it, could you please pull down that stuff? That really, it makes me look bad. There are so many other people to pick on in this community, and I'm surprised you went to Keith before any of those people. And I have to say, I saw the video footage of you and Sean Strickland. There was no cease or desist there. So what I'm giving you right now is just some advice. If you did send that cease and desist, because maybe you didn't. Who knows? Everybody's creating fake news, AI being what it is. If someone were to send a cease and desist to Keith Krikorian, do you not believe that he is going to retaliate, and probably funnier than he did before? Because if you thought the answer was no, he's going to be scared. Well, the answer is Keith put this up as a response and said, you know what? I've learned from this and I've decided that we've made up and I'm going to give him his first stripe on his black belt, which,
hey, he's earned it. He thought a lot about jiu-jitsu between the time he was promoted and now.
He did. He thought a lot about it. And you know what? In record speed, because if you got the black belt that fast, you might as well be getting stripes this fast. Keith has already surpassed the previous jokes that he's done that are pretty funny. And if I can read off something here, I didn't realize, Tim, that this would have some unforeseen circumstances, because I sent Keith a note and I said, this is great. Congratulations. I'm very proud of you. And I sent him a photo of us from like 7 years ago when we first like kind of met. And in it, you can see me like putting my arm around his shoulder being like, all right, kid. And the caption I put on this was, kid, take it from a pro. This is how you piss off your first millionaire. And Keith had a very good response. He did send me a note back, and I wasn't expecting this, but I don't think he's 100% wrong here, Tim. He looked at this, and first of all, this should tell you how long we've known each other. He looked at this photo, and he said, "Aw, that's an adorable photo. But also, and second off, you did teach me a lot about nonconformity, so this is partly your fault." So somehow Keith found a way to try and implicate me in all of this as well. So I guess what I'm saying here is, Mr. Bunnyberg, listen, if you did do that, what are you doing? And if you are genuinely in this community, they roast people like you're choosing to be this villain if you did send it. And in this day and age, we're looking for people, anybody to just get involved and really love this sport. I mean, at every turn, it feels like you're rage baiting us if you did send it. So the advice here is, if you really want to try to love us, you don't have to insult us, because like the memes are going to come. And if that doesn't bother you, that's cool. But if you're sending cease and desists in a DM form, that's kind of legally thirsty, one might say. So we don't need you to be legally thirsty in our event, in our sport. We're just trying to live. We know we're poor. We don't need you here for that. And if you want to give some of the guys money, but in return, we are going to roast you if you did send that. So I see this.
Just hang on a sec. I'm going to register legallythirsty.com right now.
Thank you. Legally thirsty is
mine.
The response was black belt level troll play, Keith. Well, don't worry. Moneyberg will get there in 3 weeks, which is going to be faster than anybody else here. So, well played. Anyway, don't go after Keith. It's dumb. You'll only look sillier by conformed. But, Tim, why don't we move to this right now? EBI 25 happened last Friday. It was a great event. It was hard to believe that BMAC, Octavio, TJ all boarded a plane and went to go do that right after the PGF, but that's where they were. And there wasn't necessarily a huge surprise. Landon Elmore ended up winning the whole thing, but it was very cool to see him ascend in surprising fashion by beating people so quickly, including Bryce Mitchell and Keith Krikorian in the finals. So, Tim, what were some of the standouts to you over at the most recent EBI?
I mean, for one, while we're talking about Keith, props to him. He made it to the finals. He looked good, and I thought he had a really good chance going into the finals to beat Landon Elmore. To be honest with you, not that I don't think Elmore's good, but I just thought Keith has a lot more experience at this point than Elmore. But I thought Keith looked really good. he had a nice run. Elmore just looked off the charts, dude. You know, he didn't spend much time really on the mats getting people. Like he submitted Simple Man martial art, such a funny name. Roman Corona, he got him with a heel hook. He followed up with Bryce Mitchell. He got the flying triangle at first, and Mitchell looked like he saw an alien or something. The look on his face when he was like kind of walking around, like, oh my God. You know, he defended it reasonably well, kind of clever. And then Elmore went right back to it, ended up dropping off of the triangle and hit a leg lock in the transition. And then Elmore had to fight one of his own teammates, Reese Lefevre, who I know I've rolled with Reese a bunch of times. He's a Nashville guy who moved down to Texas, and Reese was already good when he moved a couple of years ago, and he's gotten like way freaking better. So Elmore finishing that is like, damn, man, he looked good, dude. I don't know what to think about these gi, dude. The no-gi grappling is just skewing younger and younger. It's really fun to watch right now.
I'm going to give a couple notes on some matches that I thought were of interest. Derek Rodman, a.k.a. Derek Rayfield, looked great. Getting that win over Ethan. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. That was huge. And that was a big way to start off the day. And I had a feeling it would be interesting. Derek, of course, stepping in at the last minute for Brady Branscombe, who ended up with an injury at the PGF finale at the playoffs. So really cool of him to make weight in such a short amount of time. He didn't have a ton. He basically found out that Thursday. And I actually ran into him at 10th Planet, and I saw him starting to cut the weight, and I thought, oh my God, that's not a lot of time, considering he had just competed the night before as well. And that was interesting. JJ Bowers did have a fun with Bryce Mitchell, so shout out them. Landon Elmore started the day off crazy and went 4 for 4 on submissions. But I do want to highlight something. You did mention that Keith had a good run. He started off very well against Officer Grimy, Jonathan Wilson. And then there was a weird moment where it was Keith versus a different colored version of him in Rafa Ferreira, in that Rafa and him looked like when you play the same character in Street Fighter and one person has to change their clothes to a different color. So I thought that was interesting. And then elsewhere on the card, you also had Johnny Grippo and Ben Eddy down a little bit further. So there was a lot of stuff that was happening on this event. But I would tell you, I felt like Keith was in a good spot. He definitely looked good throughout the tournament. Landon has been making this claim of being the best leg locker in the business. Do you feel that he furthered that claim out there, Tim?
I mean, that's a big claim to lay, that you're the best leg locker in the business. There's some really freaking great leg lockers out there, but he's laying a pretty good stake in the ground. And I think if he continues down this route, we might very well claim him to be that, but that's a little premature right now.
It is difficult because he did just he looked very good. That is the easiest way to say it. So we're not necessarily thinking he's out of consideration, but a few things that we kind of had to figure out. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys just a little bit about some other impressions I had from EBI. You know, overall, the event felt tight. It was good. I very much enjoyed the activity, and I thought, like, hey, listen, when you get an event like this, it is cool that it feels a little bit different than all the other sorts of things. In the same week, you had PGF, you had EBI. They felt like two very different entities, and I think they both excelled in that week. So was very, very pleased about that result. But there's some other things that we should get to here, and I'm going to advance the board just a little bit to move it down while we try to fix things on our side. It said, I notice here Tim has a note to me that there is some firmware, but he will be back here shortly. So I'm actually going to go to one of the next topics, and we'll come back to Pyramid because I actually want Tim to be here for that one. But yes, an update on a news article that did come out a little bit earlier last month. It does appear that Raja Jackson, the individual who involved himself in a pro wrestling angle that he probably shouldn't have, he now has been arrested. So that is as per TMZ. We don't know exactly what the fallout is going to be here, but Raja, people immediately wondered what was going to happen. What are the consequences? The first question out of everybody's mouth is, if this is so bad, why hasn't he been arrested? And a lot of that comes from the fact that the person has to press charges against him. So you have to wait for charges to be made against them. And in this particular case, it did look like they were kind of assembling it. They were figuring out for Psycho Stu, the victim of this senseless sort of knockaround. I bet you they were assembling all the evidence they needed to start their court case and to actually press charges. And it sounds like that could be the way that they're going. So, Tim, for you, what are your thoughts in terms of the fallout from this? What is it that we're able to learn, or what is it that we're discerning from this case thus far in?
Well, a couple things. One is that he's gonna have some kind of punishment. You knew that when it happened that it was too damaging, it was too assaulting. It was more than just like he cracked him with one punch and knocked him out. It was a beat down, and it was intense, and he had to be pulled off, and it was violent. So that's not gonna go unnoticed. That's gonna go noticed, right? And it doesn't surprise me if charges were pressed against him. I would press charges against somebody that did that to me. For sure I would. Now, whether he gets in serious trouble or not, I don't know. It was interesting to hear, or read, I should say, what his father, Rampage Jackson, had to say about it, which in a gist was that he deserves to do some time for this. And he needs to take some anger management classes. So I found that interesting. Most of the time, parents kind of back the kids, or they just stay quiet about it. But Rampage is like, nah, he's got to do some time for that. Take some anger management. And who knows? Look, it sucks that this happened. I feel really bad for the victim here. It especially sucks for him. The very best that Raja can do is to learn from this and try to come out of it a better person. It's not going to take back the pain and suffering that he inflicted, but it might keep him from future issues and also keep people from future pain. So it's unfortunate all the way around. And also these indie wrestling dudes, I love independent wrestling. I think it's awesome. Do it. But like you gotta still run it safely in a way where you're not going to bring someone in who doesn't really know what's up and then put them in a situation where they could really hurt somebody.
Yeah, I think we've gotten to a point now where I don't know how much of that is going to change, because they very much run certain indie programs very by the seat of their pants. You hope that it would change, but I'm not convinced that is necessarily the case of what's going to happen there. But Tim, I would tell you this. I do hope that is a good marker to maybe not let people in the back anymore. It's hard because people always say, oh, this person's very famous, you have to let them through. And for a business that for years didn't reveal the backings or the behind the scenes nature of it, keeping kayfabe alive, I know there's a resistance to that for so many of them, where they think like, you're exposing us or you're going to make this worse for us. And maybe there is something to that. Maybe there is a reason why that was in place for so many years, and why you see the WWE now being like, we're going to peel back the layers. And I'm like, well, kind of, but it's like more storytelling, just in a different form. So I think it puts pressure on these smaller businesses to say, yeah, why don't we try to do this? Maybe this will get us some eyeballs. And I think that's where part of that issue comes from. And if you get a game individual like Raja Jackson, who comes to this with a set of issues that they're dealing with on their own side, it's kind of the make of something very terrible could happen. So it's not a surprise. I hope Psycho Stu is actually feeling better. And I think more damning than anything was the promoter told the wrestlers not to talk to the cops. Now, this is interesting for this reason. Yes and no. I think it's kind of a dick move in the way it sounds, but if you are a promotion, you probably are figuring out the legal response you're going to do, and that you don't want to further implicate the gym that's involved in it. So I can kind of see why you wouldn't necessarily do that, but from a human perspective, to tell somebody not to talk to the cops, it seems absolutely terrible. And why wouldn't you just say, like, hey, we're going to make a statement officially that will speak on behalf of the gym, so you don't have to. Instead, it's don't talk to the cops, you guys. And you go, oh boy, that sounds dumb. That doesn't look good. And that's part of the reason why there is an individual who was the hero of the whole piece. I think he got frustrated and decided to speak out. And that's how we got so many of the behind the scenes details, is because he said, fuck it. If you guys are going to talk about it, I'll talk about it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, you know, if you're going to let somebody behind the scenes and they're not like part of the industry, then put a guy on them. Give him a handler who's just going to be with him the whole time to make sure he's not, you know, rocking the boat, man.
And also, it bodes well that whoever is that liaison has to do a better job than, you know what a receipt is.
Yeah, yeah, use it.
And then later yell at us being like, how dare you guys get mad at me? And it's like, bro, you're part of this, whether you think you are or not. Somebody got beat up and it didn't look like you said stop. And whether you are liable is a different conversation that is more pertinent. And I don't know that people know the ins and outs of that, but it doesn't look good from where you stand. And, you know, when you are bringing somebody new into that world, you feel like, well, you did invite him. He was a guest of yours. Maybe the promoter decided to bring him in, but it's not like you went up to the promoter and said, this is a bad idea. I don't think we should do it. Instead, you go, nah, he needs to get his back. So just goes to show.
Nah, man, that's not cool. It's like bringing a new friend to an acid trip. Like, you're not doing that. You got to be vouched for and verified, man. You know what I'm saying, right, Ref?
In the many times I've done acid, that does really... Yep,
it's acid etiquette. Yeah.
You know, listen, bro, you don't come do acid with your friends unless you've agreed to certain terms. Everybody knows there's a politeness to doing acid. Let's go back to this
bring
topic.
A stranger.
Let's go back to this topic, which I think was a little bit of an interesting thing. You know more about this than I do, sir. And, you know, Christian from, is this BJJ Globetrotters?
Yeah.
Okay. He has been detesting the types of black belts that are based on time, likening them to a pyramid scheme. What can you tell us about this one, sir?
Well, a couple things. One is, according to, you know, the Jiu-Jitsu rags, Christian, who is the founder of BJJ Globetrotters, and also, and I think this is important to take into consideration, he's the creator of beltchecker.com, which is an alternate belt verification system to the existing one that we kind of have by default with the IBJJF. So, you know, he has a sharp criticism of it. And his criticism is interesting. I don't think it's that big of a deal, to be honest with you. His criticism is that once you reach black belt, your stripes and promotions at that point are based on time. And that is true, right? The IBJJF will honor it if you pay the money and you do it in the thing, and you still have to have somebody sign the certification, right? Yeah, you can get anyone to probably sign it who's higher ranked than you. But in the grand scheme of things, is it that big of a deal? Like, honestly, does anybody, in his criticism is that once you get to black belt, everyone's locked in place in the hierarchy, so you can't move past somebody. But who are you moving past, and how are you going to promote guys that are 59 years old, 63 years old? You're going to go make them compete against each other to earn stripes? I don't think it makes sense. And I don't think people really care that much beyond an attitude of respect that, hey, like, dude, this guy's got a coral belt. Damn, that's a big deal. That means this guy's been training for a long, long time and he never stopped. Right. If you're just sitting on your ass eating mashed potatoes and getting, catching diabetes,
Right.
and you can catch it, man. You got to be careful. If and you're not training and you haven't trained in 8 years and you're just putting stripes on your belt, that's a different story. But this, I really don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it would be worse if we were going from white to black belt just based on time. Then yeah, that's a serious problem. So,
well,
I don't know.
Mr. Moneyberg, if you're still around, you would be an ideal person to talk with about this because you have the preeminent experience of doing it so fast. Here's what we should talk about, though, Tim. Like, likening a jiu-jitsu activity to a pyramid scheme.
Yeah,
I don't know that it's far off sometimes. Like, do you ever feel like when you bring people into jiu-jitsu that you're like, I don't know if this is good or bad for you. I don't know. I don't know if I should bring you in.
It depends, man. I mean, there are academies where the kind of leadership uses the students as like an ATM machine almost, where it's just constant pressure to buy in and do more, and it's very hierarchical driven. But now, there's a lot of guys selling shit, trying to get you to sign up for stuff, but that's in everything now. So you got to find a good school. There's a lot of good dudes out there now that aren't freaking crazy. There's a lot of crazies too. So
there are definitely moments though when I have looked at people and go, I don't think this is for you, dude. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
like
for
maybe
sure.
You don't need to do this. And then all of a sudden, sometimes it makes them fight a little bit more. They're like, no, I think I'm good at it. I was like, nah, we're good here. And there was recently somebody who stopped by, and there was a kid, and he goes, I was like, hey, man, I heard you've trained a little bit. He's like, yeah, I've done Krav Maga. I get jiu-jitsu. And I was like, do you?
I get it.
Uh-oh. And I would have this dude do rounds with people, and then he was just breathing hard, just like 2 minutes into a round.
Of course.
And I go, how you doing, bud? He's like, I'm okay. Now, asshole me wanted to say, well, I thought you'd get jiu-jitsu, but I didn't know it was only for 2 minutes at a time. And I didn't say that. I thought it, but I let it go. And then I looked at him and I said, hey, man, can you finish the drill? It's at your speed. Nobody's telling you have to go 100 miles per hour. Let's just do this live drill. This dude stalled the best I've ever seen anybody stall to make it seem like he's doing something. And I said, damn, he might be good at IBJJF. I'm not sure. A little bit later, he followed me on Instagram. I sent him a note. I was like, hey, bud, what are you thinking? You followed me, so are you looking to join? If not, all good. He goes, I'm in the middle of figuring out which gyms might work for me. And I was like, God bless. Let me know how that goes, dude. And you know why? Because sometimes you think maybe I'm not the right fit for him. Like, I don't need to pull you here. You can come if you want to. I love the fact that our gym owner is very much like, Raf, I trust you. And I go, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm smart enough in this respect, I believe, to know sometimes we just aren't a good fit. And sometimes jiu-jitsu is not a good fit for a person. But if he comes and he wants to learn, totally fine. But I did offer to roll with him, and I think that scared him because he was like, wait, hold up. What? No, I'm good, man. Oh, man, I'm super tired. Woo, yeah, I need to get out of here. And I was like, bro.
Yeah. I got to hit the gym. It's quad. I got to do my quads.
Travis Gogg says, I also think belts are not as important as everyone else thinks because everyone is going to know if you're good after you roll with them. Yes, in theory, but not everybody gets to roll with everybody. So sometimes you see somebody online and you see like a video package they put together of their best highlights and you go, man, that dude's really good. What they might not show you is they might have lost those matches, but those were really good slams that they hit. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's ways to manipulate that. I would agree. I think belts are not the end all be all, but sometimes they're a good indication, especially if you know and respect the people who have given them their ranks. They have a certain meaning, and you think, oh, that's really cool. And very proud of that sort of a thing. Um,
I got a quick idea. Can I run
Yeah,
this
what's
by
up?
you? What if we did it like pro sports?
Mhm.
And you get your black belt, and that's basically like when you're the best that you could possibly be. But when you start slipping, you know, if you're a pro baseball player, they'll send you back down to AAA or AA. You could get sent back down to brown or purple. And by the time you're like out of jujitsu, you're basically like a burned out blue belt. We just keep pushing you down. And if you do good, we'll bring you back up again, man. Get demoted. I like it.
And it says, fair point. But by and large, Travis, just to let you know, there have been plenty of people that I've seen that I've rolled with that I'm like, oh, you're a blue belt. That's going to be good. You're going to be actually pretty good at this. Oh, you're not that good. Okay. Same with black belts, where I've been like, dude, you've got a black belt. You must be great. This dude just showed up. Yikes.
Yeah.
But I've always told my instructors to promote me slow because I roll with too many people. And I don't want them being like, I think they ranked draft a little too fast. I call it the anti-Moneyberg promotions. Feel free to rank me even slower. Totally fine. Nonetheless, we're going to move on to our next one, which is MCPREZ. Good Lord. Conor McGregor says that he unfortunately has to withdraw his attempts to become president of Ireland. Which begs the question, can you ever drop out of a race you were ever really in? So, with this in mind, Tim, what say you about this Conor McGregor situation? And does it look like he will be on that 4th of July card at the White House?
I have serious doubts that he'll be on that card. I'm not, look, Conor McGregor can't be the president of a country. There's no way if you start digging into that guy, he's going to be able to stand the test of politics. There's just no way. He's a madman. He's out of his mind. He's literally out of his mind, which is why he thought he could probably be president. I'm assuming probably what happened is McGregor had to get other people in a political party or other people to kind of form something so he could actually be officially on the ballot. And they probably told him, like, no way, dude. So I started thinking, though, Raf's like, what could he be the president of? If he's like, hey, man, I don't want to do, you know, I can't be the president of Ireland, but I could be the president of Lucky Charms, even though they're not an American company or Irish company. They found someone magically delusional in Conor McGregor.
Like, why is anybody surprised by this? Because Conor McGregor wants to get into politics. This is something we should be teaching people from over here. The fact that we have people who sometimes are not politicians who become politicians, we have found that sometimes they can actually be elected to higher government, usually because they're a blank slate that people can project their political beliefs on, as crazy as they may be. But, like, why do you want this job, Conor? You realize the minute you get caught with cocaine, if you did it, you would be scrutinized. You can't just have your freewheeling alleged drug escapades, your steroid escapades, your anything escapades. And you keep trying to tell us you're going to come back to fighting. I feel like it's less that you're going to come back, like you're telling us it's a good time and threatening us that you have to come back. And those are never the best fights. Those are the ones you're concerned for the well-being of that person. And unfortunately, you are not necessarily relevant. It doesn't mean you won't be interesting or grab the interest. The number one boxing viewed match of all time is Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. So there's always an element of a sideshow that can be exploited here. But you should feel good knowing that nobody's going to touch your pay-per-view numbers now that we're going to a Paramount distribution deal. You and Khabib have it safe on your side. You and Mayweather have it safe as being one of the all-time boxing draws. That's where you exist. And if you think you're going to go back to that prime version of you, not only does age show a factor, but it's also just people's interest in you. To have the clout that you need to get away with the shit you say, you have to win. And you haven't won. Oh, God. The years go by. It feels like in a decade. It's got to be at least 6 years, right? The last win he had was against Cowboy.
It's been a minute. It really, yeah.
I think that's the last one he's got.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look
it's
it
been
up.
a while.
Anyway, it said he would totally knock the socks off of a Lucky Charms commercial. Now, see, that we're all in agreement. Actually, yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. This is a retread of a joke that I did on Verbal Tap. This is when you know everything that's old is new again. I used to say my Conor McGregor, I didn't feel like I had a good impression, but I would basically take my impression of him as saying, like, you're never going to be money. And I thought that was indicative of somebody who was going to be a Lucky Charms spokesperson. So, what's old is new again, I guess. Anyways, let's get now to our fight of the week. Tim, you picked something out of the blue that made me concerned because you were giggling, and I still haven't previewed it fully. So what can you tell us about this week's fight of the week?
Brother. This is what happens. This is what you guys don't understand. I don't find the fights. These fights find me. I don't even know how it happens. I was so pleased with this fight because we've never had a fight like this. This is not man versus man. We've had that. This is not man versus woman. We've had that. We've had a lot of guys versus one guy. We've had a lot of guys versus a lot of guys. We've had hospital fights, restaurant fights, airport fights, every kind of fight you could think of. We've never had this fight. This fight is between a man and an angry group of ostriches. And before you laugh, these ostriches are very, very tough, my friend.
Okay.
And it goes fast, but it's fast and funny, man. It struck a chord with me. I literally could not stop laughing when I was looking at it.
This makes me slightly nervous, but I will take you now. It says, look, preemptive giggling is pretty scary. Thank you, Travis. I agree. Well, let's hear you talk about it, Tim. I'm putting it on for you in 3, 2, 1.
This has got to be a foreign country. Dude comes out of his house. He's the only guy with a shirt on, by the way. And he kind of peeps around. He's like, oh, some nice little ostriches. And this cat decides he's going to make a run for it. And the ostrich is not having it with this dude being in his yard, dude. And then the homies come over, the other ostriches, and this guy's getting stomped. Like he's literally just getting his ass whooped by an ostrich. And he finally gets some, and you see his buddy tries to come in and he's like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. And the ostriches then basically lay stake to that green grass in front of the property. There's not going to be any humans on that. And all these shirtless dudes are, and I don't know if they're like at New Zealand YMCA, or I don't know what the hell this is, but they're all perched up on the sun deck, not taking any chances. I just love the way that the ostrich stomped that dude out, and he could not get up.
Yeah, dude. I've never been trampled by an ostrich, but I have a feeling I'm not getting up really nicely either, sir. Travis says, my money is on the ostrich. Is this in Australia?
It has to be.
Okay.
It has to be in Australia. Craig Jones should have fought an ostrich. CJI 3.
Could you imagine Craig got in the DMs of the ostrich and was like, hey, I'll throw a match for you if you want. Ostrich. Like, oh, I don't have that kind of money there. Mate, I don't have any more. We've spent all of our money on all of Riff Raff's demands. We don't have it.
I'm only secretary of the I'll Let the Powder Do the Talking Club. Connor's the president.
If you had to fight an animal, what animal do you think you could beat up? Me, probably a small lizard. You got to think bigger, Travis, because a small lizard is not good for odds makers. Hold on. This explains
this does not
a lot,
surprise
actually.
Me. Yes, it does, dude. It really does.
I was attacked by an ostrich when I was a kid. So did the ostrich knock out the conjugation? Because, okay. I regret
you said
asking.
Conjugation.
Yeah, I did. It just didn't work on that. Okay, I'll play along. What happened? What did you do to the ostrich, or how did you get put in the scenario where an ostrich would feel like it's going to get into a fight with you? Because you putting this toward the end of the episode is a hit job that makes me say we're not done until we get an answer here. But while you
got an
answer us, I'm gonna go ahead and advance the footage one more time and give you my take on it. Going in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So this dude looks like the Australian version of Shooter McGavin. He now looks all the way around. So I guess my question for you guys is, these ostriches were not peaceful. They came up looking for trouble, and they're like looking at these guys. And I think they're giving them a warning shot. So these are people in different, I guess, apartments or condos or wherever they are. And then for whatever reason, he makes a run for it. So Tim, why did this dude take off? Why? Why are you possessed to get across there? To me, this seems like there's some sort of missing element. Like, is this a Quiet Place, but with ostriches? Is there something that we don't know? Because it looks like a horror movie where we have no context. Because these ostriches run this city.
Yeah.
The way they post up like this, that's a mob right there. You got Pesci, you got De Niro, you've got Liotta, you got the Goodfellas here, and they're starting to go after these guys. Now, here comes Joe Pesci, not very happy with them, tramples on them. You think you're better than me? You think I'm funny? Funny how? Wham! Now, this is an ostrich that has beat up humans before because, look, it definitely comes through for multiple hits. Also, why does this ostrich run and attack like it's on the Muppet Show? Because it's comedic. Now, this brave soul here pulls what's called the sacrifice in a Jurassic Park movie, where he's like, hey, cool ostrich, you over there, you come over here. Tries to get the attention, runs away like an idiot. But the ostriches have already done the triangle defense here, as this dude's now protecting the escape clause with that railing. So was there no other way to get out from that scenario where you had to go that way? Also, strategy looked very poor. The ostriches know that they won this one. This is essentially them dancing in the end zone. Now, this dude's holding his stomach, Tim, and that makes me think that he tried to do it first. I think he also got trampled on.
Yeah, looks like he's an aspiring plumber. They could have been eating ostrich burgers, and it could have pissed the ostriches off too, because that's a common kind of burger to eat outside of the United States, at least. So
fair.
Ostrich is good. Don't knock it, man. It's good meat, dude.
Not
especially if you're doing CrossFit.
Attack like that, dude. I'll just stick to my cow. We're good with that.
Yeah, and I don't know why the guy didn't. He kind of ran at an angle. He should have just ran sideways. He would have made it out.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is he stopped. You just have to keep constant motion, and you should really be rolling, like tumbling roll, like all your way through, because that bar looks like you could have ducked underneath it. So I think that dude wanted to get beaten up by an ostrich. Let's just say that. And he probably said something about the ostrich's mom. Probably. And it said, yeah, it went about like that, but I was a child.
Yeah. There's a good one in there, man. There's one more in there from the Daily Stack that I found very funny.
I think it's going to come to me in a second, but while we wait for it to happen. Oh, this is the one you're speaking of. We were at an ostrich farm, and I was a curious man.
How curious was this guy, man? Like, you trying to interview the ostrich?
No, that sounds profanely dirty, I think, as well. I was a curious man. Like, I beg of you guys to all get a spell checker or even Grammarly to be like, sir, are you sure this is the way you want it to come? Because I'm pretty sure if Grammarly had a pause button, they'd be like, pause, think about that. We were at an ostrich farm, and I was a curious man. It sounds like you were growing up in adolescence, and you were like, that ostrich was young. I thought.
It's got to be Australia, though, right?
I think so.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Right?
There's no more joke on that one. At least not one that I want to do anymore. Nonetheless, Tim, we have reached all the way throughout. I'd say we'd have more gallery comments, but I actually don't want to read any more of them because, you know, it's well, I'll put this up, but I'm not reading it. Okay. Good to know. Tim, where can people find you and see more of you and your work, sir?
You can check me out at Inside BJJ on all your favorite platforms. If you're out in Nashville, come see me at 10P Nashville. And if you're out in Stockton, see me at 10th Planet Stockton. Raf, it's great to be with you today, man. I don't apologize for the ostrich video. I think it was amazing. I just want you to know that. I really
you need to apologize for. It's just, how are you supposed to know that we had somebody who goes, I too have been victimized by an ostrich? That makes like watching this video all the weirder because all I keep thinking about is Isaac in the position where the ostrich is trampling him, and Isaac has a certain cadence that is a Mitch Hedberg sort of cadence. That's like, hey man, why you hitting me, ostrich? That's not cool. I didn't come to where you were, ostrich. Damn. All right, I guess you hit me. That sucks. Damn, that hurt. So that's more of what I'm thinking of. Tim, I appreciate you. And
yes,
we will see you guys back here next week. But for right now, allow me to go ahead and close this bitch on up. Thank you guys for watching. My name is RAF ESPARZA. I host this show, and you will also see me host a show called The Grappling Hour. I don't know if you follow both, but I would love it if you like, comment, and subscribe on this video, as well as videos that go up there. And I can tell you, we've got some great people with some interviews coming up very, very near on the show. So here are some ones that you guys can look forward to. Today, we just premiered an older episode with Landon Elmore that we recorded before the PGF season, but we are currently in talks to do another interview with him for his proper PGF and EBI exit interview. So that's coming up. If you guys haven't seen that one, Shawnee Buss, a standout from Sparstar, in addition to Bryce Harley, who is heading up the the Desert Duels, which is a great jiu-jitsu competition that's going to be taking place out in Vegas. If you guys are not familiar, you'll learn more about it on that episode. We've got Nathan Hawthorne, another Spar Star standout that's going to be returning on action next Saturday with your boy here on commentary. In addition to that, you've got Mateus, who is one of these awesome local fighters. Mateus is a beast. Love that kid. A few other folks that we've got coming up as well. Elwig Wassemer, who's also now living out in Alabama, a huge local fan out this way in California. And you've got some local talent that is going to be making big waves very, very soon in Adrian Segovia, and much, much more, including Juan Martinez, who was also on the recent season of the PGF. So check us out at the Grappling Hour to learn more about those individuals. Just remember, we always have the up-and-comers first. We are usually everybody's first interview. So check those out if you enjoy that. But I would tell you guys, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you back here next Friday for another installment of the Bullpen. But until then, we appreciate y'all for checking in with us. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.